I do not think that Mayor de Blasio should be canceling the New York City event because it requires proof of vaccination and it's outdoors. We should be keeping the events that are safe and also the events that have fun for people too. We can't be canceling everything, especially if we're going to be living with COVID for the foreseeable future. I would say that if you choose to go, make sure that you're vaccinated and boosted. Make sure that you're wearing a mask, even though it's outdoors. If there are lots of people packed around you, wearing a 3-ply surgical mask. Don't wear a cloth mask. Cloth masks are little more than facial decorations.
What did you say? What did you say?
Cloth masks are little more than facial decorations. Cloth masks are little more than facial decorations.
All right, put this thing on for a change. Can you tell me when you start recording?
Recording.
Take this thing off for a change. Hi, authoritarians. I love what you're doing. You've done a great job the past 2 years with your whole like totalitarian take over the world thing you're doing. And doing it all under the guise of, it's a pandemic. This is all for your protection. Classic. Well done. And you certainly get an A for effort thus far. But now, unfortunately, you've hit some snags with your whole plan, haven't you? You know, most people know this whole thing isn't about a virus. They figured it out, and here's why. Because you're basically playing poker with your cards facing outward. Everybody can see your hand. So I'd like to offer you 9 key pieces of advice that will make what you're doing much less obvious to the public so you can get past these sticking points and get back to taking over the world successfully the way you want to. Because I just want to help. Using a bioweapon to scare people to death so they're controllable. This is a great premise and super good idea. I'm proud of you for using your imaginations on this one. But I know the really frustrating problem you've run into on this one is people just aren't scared to death of your bioweapon to be completely controllable anymore. No offense. I know you've done plenty of fear-mongering on the news with this, but so people aren't scared enough to be completely controllable with this one. So what you could do to improve this area is next time you're engineering a bioweapon in China, is engineer it to be, well, just much deadlier. A 99.98% survival rate. Come on, guys. It's like you're not even trying. You can do better than this. If you can get that death rate up, it'll elevate people's fear, which will make them much easier to control. And then you'll find a lot of the disobedience to your world takeover will just disappear like someone the day before they're supposed to testify against the Clintons. Fact checkers. What a great idea to invent a new name for propaganda enforcers and having them work under the guise of purveyors of truth. They do the opposite of what their name says they do. Clever. Fact checkers, the greatest invention since sliced bread. And I'm gluten intolerant, but you recently admitted in court that your fact checkers' facts were opinions and not actual facts or declaration of facts. You kind of admitted that you've been full of shit with your fact checkers this whole time. Now, we all knew this, but you're not supposed to admit this because then the public stops believing you. The glaring problem here is you obviously haven't corrupted the court system nearly enough so that you would never have to reveal a truth in order to keep getting away with what you're trying to do. Quite honestly, it feels a little insulting that you haven't paid off more judges and courts at this point. Oh, we know Soros owns all the district attorneys, but guys, you gotta show a little heart and put in the effort, money, and blackmail it takes to control the judges too. Anyway, take this under advisement as it should take care of your little fact checkers problem. Overly aggressive mandates. Now, if you've ever read any books on pickup artists, you know that walking up to women in a bar while holding a condom and saying, "You better f me or else," comes across as way too aggressive and kind of reduces the number of women that will be manipulated into giving you what you want, as it is with your desires for getting people to comply with your aggressive mandates. Take this, you'll lose your job. It's Even Harvey Weinstein ran into problems with this mentality. Now I know you're horny for compliance. You just want people to obey you now, damn it. I get that. And please, never lose that passion. It's just that you come across like a rapist. And that clues people in that what you're wanting them to do is for your benefit, not theirs. So my advice on this issue is to come across much more subtly. So you'll be like the pickup artist, getting much more of what you want, rather than being outed and rejected as the rapist that you are. It could be like, oh, you can get that shot if you want. It'll save your life, but I don't really care. I think you'll find that many more people will play into your desires this way. Pretending drug companies are benevolent organizations. It's cool how you're trying to pass drug companies off as caring, benevolent organizations that just want to save lives. Whereas up until last year, we all knew them as profit-first criminal organizations that have had to pay the largest criminal fines in history and knowingly cause the opioid crisis and have had to pay tens of billions of dollars for their wrongdoing. People love fairy tales, but they know they're not true. So for people who are in touch with what's called reality, they just can't make the leap with you on this one. So I've got 2 suggestions on how we can get more people to trust your untrustworthy drug companies so we can get profits up. 1, use shell companies. Because when a known company rushes to invent a new drug and has zero liability against it, and that company also has a long track record of criminal history, people are going to hesitate. But if you can set up a shell company with a completely different name, then you can honestly deceive people into not knowing what company owns the product that they're buying. And thus, you'll earn a lot more trust by keeping the truth hidden. 2nd, now, I know you're operating with the business model of our product is so effective that you have to get it. And also, our product is so ineffective that you have to get another one every 6 months. I know you want repeat business and client retention. I get it. But something happens when you're converting your reptilian thoughts into English. Something gets lost in translation, and the whole thing comes across as conflicting, which is a red flag for people who know how to think. So my suggestion on how to get repeat business for your favorite new product that you love to push is to add something to it to make it highly addictive. That way you get a lot of repeat business. I mean, you had no problem doing this with the opioids. I think doing this would solve a lot of your problems and really boost profits. Mask theatrics. I know masks do a great job of beating compliance into the psyche, being a symbol of fear, and they really help dehumanize people. And I know they're uncomfortable for you to wear. I mean, they're more of a peasant garment, aren't they? But the problem we've run into over and over again here is you guys having your masks off when the cameras are off, then putting them on when the cameras are on, and then taking them off again when the cameras are off. But meanwhile, not knowing there's been another camera running the whole time. So it kind of makes the public a lot less obedient to your guidelines when they know the people making up the guidelines aren't even following them. But because we know there's nothing more obnoxious than an elite authoritarian such as yourself having your face, what can we do? Well, I would recommend pinning a device to your shirt that can shine a holographic projection of a mask onto your face at all times. We know actually wearing one is beneath you, but with this method, you won't have to. Yet all the peasants out there will be tricked into believing that you also do what you're telling them to do. And I think you'll see your compliance go up accordingly. Fauci is a figurehead. You know what I like about your plan? To get the least likable, most untrustworthy doctor with a dirty track record to be the figurehead of your public obedience relations? It's that you tried really hard. And I love effort. There's just one small issue that's hidden here, and that's that nobody trusts him. Like, statistically, 0 people. As a metaphor, it's like people know the truth about him. Well, that's not a metaphor, but it's accurate. So my advice here is to get all the incriminating pictures of Fauci that you can, or frame them in, preferably some on Epstein's jet, and then cut him loose, knowing that you've ensured his silence. Then who would take his place? Well, anybody. I mean, you could get a cartoon Herbie to take his place, and people would find that much more endearing. Bill Gates' public involvement. Now, I know most of my advice has been necessary here because it's like a socially awkward sociopath with no people skills designed your whole plan. But we know Bill's not going to. Our behind the scenes is a much better place for him rather than being public-facing in front of the camera. Here are just the main problems with using Bill as a public face. He's not a doctor. He's not likable. He gave a TED Talk on reducing the world's population. He's the biggest profiter from jabs on planet Earth. He's spent $319 million to control the media. Now, I could imagine you've suggested this, but then Bill just threw a tantrum demanding he get all the credit and recognition that he deserves for helping orchestrate this world takeover. And who can blame him? He's put a lot of work into this thing. But he's also kind of ruining it for him at this point. So my advice for you would be to stage award ceremonies for Bill at least once a week. Let Bill think they're real. But you keep the whole thing hidden behind closed doors in your underground dungeons. That way Bill gets the satisfaction and recognition that he deserves while being out of the limelight, so he doesn't ruin your whole plan with his presence. Using Biden as your puppet, we know he was an obvious choice for you to use to get someone into office that you could have complete control over. I get it, but what you might not know is that the optics of having a severely cognitively impaired nursing home patient playing the role of president doesn't fool a single person. Everybody knows you control him. Remember what I said earlier about like you're playing poker and your hands showing? Well, on this one, your cards are really showing here. And I know you know this. And that's why you have the whole, well, get him into office and we'll have Kamala take over part written into your script. But it's just that people know that's part of your plan too. Which again is just you showing your hand, like not even keeping it hidden a little bit, which really impairs your whole take over the world agenda. I don't really know what to tell you about this. It's just, at this point, I think it's too obvious to be repairable. I would recommend probably just coming out and apologizing to people for thinking they're dumb enough to fall for this. I think an apology could go along with it. Build Back Better agenda. With President Brandon's Build Back Better agenda, what you're doing here is destroying the country under a name that suggests you're doing the opposite. Build Back Better diverts people from realizing you're destroying to make things worse. Clever. I like it. But as you're building back better with a border disaster, a crisis in Afghanistan with abandoned Americans, printing money to drive up inflation, destroying small businesses with lockdowns, destroying jobs with mandates, destroying the minds of children with critical race theory and identity politics, and destroying peace by decriminalizing crime, all in under a year. I think this is all just too much, too fast. Now, I know you gotta do all these things to overthrow a democracy. I get it. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's just that the more people notice you doing these things deliberately, the less they'll let you do them. Because we both know the masses have the power, not you. We just don't want them to know that. So instead of taking 100 consecutive steps backwards to destroy America, I would suggest you do something like take 3 steps backwards and 1 step forward for each cycle. That way it'll convince people that you're actually trying, right? It'll get people to just think you're screwing things up because you're incompetent, rather than knowing you're deliberately screwing things up because you're evil. Then people will be thrown off your scent trail, and therefore your job of destroying our country will be made easier. So in conclusion, authoritarians, I hope this advice helps. I just want to be of service to you. As we've gone through all this, it turns out that most of your problems are with your lies. Now, I know you're going to lie. You couldn't do what you're trying to do without lying. It's just that your lies haven't been very good. But that's great, because it means you have a lot of room for improvement. By implementing the advice I've shared with you, I think you'll have a very successful totalitarian takeover of the rest of the world. Good luck. And we're all praying for you.